I have got two other amazing speakers to introduce you to now. Can you guys turn your video on, come up onto the stage, and I will introduce you. I'm really looking forward to their talk. Here they come, here they come. I'm going to add the spotlight. Da, da, da. Oh, both looking absolutely radiant in that purple. We're kind of flashing, you guys.
Yeah, we're ready for the bowling matches, you know.
I love that. You look absolutely gorgeous, both of you. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to introduce these two amazing speakers onto the stage. I'm so looking forward to their talk. I'll tell you why in a moment. I'm quite excited. But firstly, let's ground into some names. So we've got Dr. Elsbeth Muth. Is that how I pronounce it, Elsbeth? I would hate to, you say.
Pretty good, yes. Moit, yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was better. And I think for the first time, I've heard a lot about him through Elsbeth, because Elsbeth and I, we've interviewed each other in the past, but I've never met her beloved before. I don't think Freddy, Zental, Weaver in the...
You got it.
So welcome to you both. So these guys are amazing Tantra teachers. Okay, so they're founders of Tantra Nova, which is a beautiful center, Tantra center. Is it in California, you guys? Where are you based?
In Chicago.
In Chicago. I knew it began with a C. Apologies. Chicago, you guys. Get over and see them in Chicago. So Elsbeth and I have known each other for a few years now. I always love what she has to say on sacred sexuality. And today we've got both the feminine and masculine perspective on a topic which is very close to my heart, particularly this year as I've been going through my whole embodiment transformation. So I love their talk title. It's Channel Your Primal Energy to Realize Your Dreams, a Feminine and Masculine Perspective. I am the new self-proclaimed primal priestess of presence. So I'm loving this title, you guys. Like I'm on for it. I'm listening intently, and I'm going to pick up lots of hints and tips, I'm sure. So yeah, over to you guys. I'm going to go off camera in a moment, but anything that you want to share before I do?
Just thank you for your platform and the work that you're doing and bringing all these concepts and ideas to people who perhaps are hearing for the first time. Because we think globally but act locally, we all make such a huge difference in the shift that's happening.
So true. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Well, over to you. I'm going to leave the audience in your very, very capable hands. I will be here listening intently in the background. I'll see you in 30 minutes.
Great.
Thanks, Ariella. So my name is Freddy Zental Weaver, and this is my partner, beloved Elsbeth Moit. And today we want to talk about sexual meditation and how we can use our life force energy to empower our dreams and hopes and deep desires. We want to talk about 4 specific dimensions of how to do that.
Yeah. What about if you share a little bit more about yourself so people can...
Okay, yeah. That's a good lead.
He has such a great story and history, which is so unlike mine.
Yeah, we all have our stories, and well, here's a little of mine. So how I came to teach this, I was first introduced to it when I was 13 years old, living in Hawaii. I was playing basketball. I had this dream and hope to go on to college on athletic scholarship, but didn't believe that I could do it. My father, who was a practicing psychiatrist and very enrolled in alternative approaches to transformation, gave me a book to read on how to integrate sex and meditation. Ooh. Well, I already like sex. My girlfriend loved it too. And so we started integrating these practices of sexual meditation. And what, in addition to fun and really deeper sexual connection I experienced there, is how it affected me outside of the bedroom in terms of my belief about what I most deeply desired, which was to go on to college on athletic scholarship, which I did. Now, I did all the things that you would normally do to do that. Play in winning games, go to clinics, practice, and so on. But I did it without the disbelief and resignation and suffering about it, that it could never happen. After college, I was in the software business for a long time, and initially it was a lot of fun. And about 15 years into that, I became pretty disillusioned about my own happiness and engagement. I took a job with a company in Chicago. I was single, online, looking for a Shakti, a female tantra partner. Blah, blah. Elsbeth showed up. And 6 months to the day we met, we, what I call, transcended the romantic drama, pooled our resources, and created Tantra Nova. So for the last 25 years, all over the world, books, tapes, and television, we've been sharing these concepts and ideas that we want to bring to you today. So thank you. That's a little bit. And
Very different. For me, I wish I would have had a dad who would have given me a book on sex consciousness when I was a teenager. Far from it, as you can tell, from my accent, I grew up in Germany and came to the United States in my late 20s to do postgraduate work in music, and didn't come to Tantra as really a serious practice. I mean, I had read about Tantra, books, had done some practices, but not until when I hit 50 that I took it on as a practice, as a discipline, to see something about myself that had eluded me. And it was all around intimacy, love, and, being attracted to unavailable men. And when that hit me around 50, this pattern of attracting unavailable men, I felt very despaired. I could see the trajectory that if I was not going to change the pattern, I would end up without lasting intimacy and love in my life. And I didn't want to settle for that. So through my tantric healing, what opened up in what I actually want to see, I just didn't know what it was that I got in touch with what I look at now as a distrust towards men, which I was not aware of. And distrust within actually makes us unavailable. Why would I be open? While I looked available at the outside, inside I was not available. And through the tantric healing, the tantric opening into myself, into my sexual, emotional, spiritual self, that showed up for me. And through that clearing, what also opened up was when I met Freddy 6 months later, after my clearing and opening, that I could recognize him as a potential partner because I was truly available from the inside out. He was available at that time. I would not have recognized him, I believe, if I still had been living in this previous pattern of unavailability. So as Freddy said, then we created Tantra Nova together. It felt like we were brought together to create something where we use the relationship that goes beyond the relationship and could impact and assist others in what it means to live in the integration of our sexual spiritual self.
And Elsbeth's story is so apropos in terms of what this work is for people who have done it, for us who do it. In terms of that, we have an idea of something we most deeply desire to create, and yet we live often from these experiences that we've had that have been true at some point, and we relive them and recapitulate them as the truth now. So to shift and begin to move towards the dream, the idea, the deep desire, requires practices that allow us somatically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and belief to get out of that story to start moving towards this thing. What we're talking about is not teaching you anything new. It's reminding you of what you've forgotten. And we're going to get more into that as we keep going here.
So let's unfold it here because we want to leave you with some distinctions. And then our gift to you will be practices to put these distinctions into practice beyond this conversation today. So we want to start out with this here, just to look at these 4 dimensions that we build our work on. So the 4 dimensions of consciousness. The first one is the sexual primal. Oops. The second one is the emotional love energy. The third one, the mental and self-awareness. And the fourth one is the cosmic universal consciousness. So let's break this down a little bit further. Let me just. So the first one, the sexual primal, which, let me get my glasses on here, has to do with life force energy, with creative energy, creation, and embodiment. Ariella, you mentioned that word earlier, embodiment, that you're in a phase of not only exploring further into that in terms of that primal energy, but really have taken that on, or it took you on. I don't know what came first in your evolution this year. And the sexual primal being is the engine of manifestation. And we'll come back in a moment to that, how we want to learn to activate and use it. The second consciousness dimension is emotional love energy or emotional consciousness. Has to do with healing, feeling, and belonging, and then feeling coming home, the sense of being home, coming home. The third dimension, mental self-awareness. So this is where clarity shows up. When I'm confused, it may have a manifestation in sensations in the body, and the mind is confused in its thinking. So the mental self-awareness has to do with clarity, presence, and sovereignty, and living consciously then rather reactively. And now the fourth one, cosmic universal consciousness, where we live in the light, where we become light, where we are freedom and live in wholeness within and with the universe. This is where we realize a sense of wholeness. So let's look at these different dimensions in terms of, practical ways. So in our culture, where we focus, and what I mean Western culture, I don't think it's unique to Western culture, but particularly, is where we very focused, or we live a lot in our head through therapy and the whole tradition of therapy over the last 70 years when it became more mainstream, yes, that we also opened up to our emotional self further. If we are connected with the intuitive, the spiritual, then we also may be familiar or connected with that super consciousness that connects our consciousness with the universal consciousness. The first dimension of consciousness, the sexual, the primal, is given very little attention to. I think it has to do with it's so powerful, and it can be so impulsive and so coming over us that we don't know what to do with it, or that we are afraid of that it could take us over. In our practice, in the tantric practice, we learn how to bring consciousness, awareness to that energy, and then use that power of that primal energy that has brought us into this world. We wouldn't be speaking here, you wouldn't be sitting here and listening if it hadn't been for that energy.
Yeah, I want to say that this primal energy is innate for all of us. I mentioned earlier, remembering what we've forgotten. And when we are in that sexual energy, whether you're doing consciousness work or not, we're in an altered state. We're more open, loving, vulnerable, receptive, emotionally. Chemically, more endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, the feel-good hormones. So learning specific distinctions as meditation, not to take away with all the other fun stuff we do with sex, creating life, having fun with ourselves, with our partner. We can begin to get past a lot of the story and belief that we don't see that we are doing and believing that's creating what often is the antithesis of what we most deeply desire and want. And then we can start to move with that vibration and that sensation somatically and with a plan. We have a plan without disbelieving that it's possible, resignation. We can move with grace, ease, and flow, piece by piece, moment by moment, towards this thing. I've seen it in my own life. We've seen it with thousands of couples and individuals who've come through our work, and it's possible for any of us. So when I say peace on earth is just a thought away.
You think it's possible?
Belief.
All right. So when Freddy speaks about that sexual energy, initially it may not be with ease and grace, because when we go towards that energy, both deeply individual, personal experiences may surface, from sexual abuse to energy in the field where we grew up, even without touching, but where we may have felt uncomfortable around that energy, how it was, portrayed, how we felt it perhaps in our father or our mother, where it may have shown up either, expressed in a way that felt intrusive, or the other way that it was, a sense of suppression, which always shows up as a lack of aliveness. So at times, and as it was for me, that was like it was like moving through the eye of the needle to access that primal energy as a source of power, as a source of fuel, versus through a filter where I may need to protect myself. So for me, that was really the case, that in my tantric healing that I encountered, or what came back to me, was an experience when I was 18 years old and felt very forsaken by the men in my life, and particularly my boyfriend, my first love at that time, and then my dad, who called me a whore, having sex when I was 18 years old. So that arose as well in my healing and clearing this in my sexual center for the woman, the sexual center, the yoni, the sacred space of a woman, so that she can be really felt fully and tapped into as a source of joy, pleasure, bliss, fuel, creativity, womanhood, all of that. And so that energy can be set free, and once we set it free, it can travel through us, through the conscious breath, through guiding the energy into the heart, the second dimension of consciousness, really embellishing my love for self, love for my beloved, where we can circulate energy, and then it can move up into my consciousness self, my mental self, where my stories, my narratives that may hold me back, like Freddy said, something we hold as not possible, we hold that as a story, both in our mental awareness as well as in the physical body, and then up into super consciousness, my connection from the pineal gland to the universal knowingness, to the field.
Now, for the man to begin to harness another dimension of what's possible with sexual energy, It starts with learning to separate ejaculation from orgasm. And for a lot of guys, that's what they've heard about Tantra or sexual awareness practices, that it'll be a trick in the bedroom. It'll be better lovemaking and stronger orgasms and more deeply felt. And all of that will happen as well. And to use it as a meditation, what we're talking about is in the separation of ejaculation from orgasm, bringing some consciousness to this unconscious aspect of our beingness. For men, we start out with, look, Ma, no hands, a little guy with a little erection. And as adult men, we're run by our little heads our whole life. So what we're talking about is bringing consciousness to this automatistic, which is often viewed as lust or selfish love by our counterparts. And so when we start to bring consciousness to this energy, we can learn to move it with our attention and intention, with our breath to our heart. And that's what we call transmuting that energy. And once we do that, if we're the partner, then for the woman, she then gets that you are coming to her with an open heart and a aware heart energy, not a lusting, selfish energy. And then from there, she can begin to trust, and then sex is a much more natural progression or process. So for the man, in using this energy as a meditation to get through whatever or create more of what he wants, learning to tap into that altered state consciously, because you're going to go there anyway. To do it consciously gives us an opportunity to be in this witness of this story making and this belief and this energy that we live in that often gives us what we are getting unconsciously, to then move with grace, ease, and flow by flattening that story and moving towards what we most deeply desire.
And we speak of, building on what Freddy shared, we speak of what's essential for the men is to learn to move up his energy from his sex into the heart. Because when a man wants to connect intimately, sexually, he starts feeling in his sexual center. Now, I also want to preface this with what we are talking about here is not just for men or women. It is for the one who is in their masculine energy or yang energy. That could be a woman in a lesbian relationship, in a transgender relationship. It could be in a bisexual relationship. The one who is more in their yang energy wants to learn to bring up the sex energy into his heart, into their heart, because that opens the heart. That is when the one who is in their yang energy comes into this. Like, for example, in our relationship, Freddy wants to connect, he feels it in his sexual center. I want to connect as well. We both have the same intention. However, where I start feeling it first is in my heart center. So he is looking for this here, not consciously, that is like built into us, and I look from here. Same intention, wanting to connect, but we come from different loci. So like two ships passing in the night. In the tantric practice, the one who is in their yang energy learns to breathe that awakening in their sex center up into the heart. When his heart opens, guess what? My heart opens. And when my heart opens, she opens. So then we have a circuit like from his sex into his heart, into my sex, back into his sex, and you see this circuitry. For us women, it's opening the heart and opening the heart to our yoni. That was a key thing for me in my healing, because I had made decision that men were not there for me when I was 18 years old, and particularly when I needed them. And so I closed off my heart, unconsciously. I had lots of sex afterwards, perhaps somewhere thinking that, it's easier to come to love through sex, which of course is not possible. But anyway, so for the woman to breathe down from her heart into her yoni. And so do you want to do the ball to see how this circuitry can actually be demonstrated?
So she's talking about this as an energy ball. So when I complete the connection within myself, the ball lights up. When I add Elsbeth,
Where is it?
it's right there.
Oh, here.
Put it there. Then
It's dead. Yeah.
the ball lights up. If she breaks the connection, or I break the connection, we break the circuit. So what we're talking about is tapping into this unified field of connection that's always available to us once we get out of our separate thinking and belief. And we can tap into that. That love, that ease, grace, and flow is always available to us. So these practices really allow us to get out of some of the stuff that we create to perpetuate a disconnect, to then tap into that always available connection. So just to simplify, it makes life a little easier, just lightening up a little bit from our upsets and stories, the traffic or the this or the that.
I also want to give you who is listening today the benefit of, the counterpart to a yoni, which in Sanskrit is called a lingam.
Yeah, which means wand of light. Oh, much more endearing than dickhead, So, yeah.
And so, for the male with a lingam, he wants to learn how to use his pelvic floor muscles, which actually allow him to separate ejaculation from orgasm. Orgasm is a reflex in the pelvic floor, in the musculature, here, like around the base of the lingam inside. And orgasm is a sensation, it's frequency that he then can breathe up, because through the breath we make frequency travel, energy, pleasure. He can learn how to hold that reflex that goes off when ejaculation occurs, like arousal, and then ejaculation until the energy is gone, the ejaculation is gone, like this. And so he can sustain his energy, stay on that level of pleasure, joy, bliss, orgasmic nectar, and breathe it up into his heart, and embellishing the heart. And then further, and if I may just further show it with you here, that then he can breathe it up from his sex, bring that aroused primal energy up into his heart, into his third eye, like the mental awareness energy, up into his spiritual consciousness self, connecting, and then back down again. So just like we had this circuit between the two of us, each of us has this circuit within us.
Because typically that energy is experienced like we get to a point and we have this beautiful 3-second orgasmic moment where everything is just lit up and we're connected to the universal creative life force energetic self. So when we bring consciousness to it, we can, with muscle control, breath awareness, and the intention, move that sensation, that wonderful euphoric sensation, up to our heart and on up to the other chakras. And you can do that with even a soft on without being that highly aroused.
Yeah.
And so that really taps us into what's always available, which is that creative energy.
Yeah. And really, I want to go back to the title of our talk, to activate and channel primal life force energy to fuel your dreams and realize them, So that is what we can cultivate. And of course, you can already sense it in that interconnection, the integration of primal, heart, mental, and consciousness frequencies. We come into a dance within, and we can come together in the dance of that, where we circulate energy and raise energy and come to a bliss state in the embrace with the beloved. I want to say one more thing before we close. For women, it is not, we don't teach women first to channel energy consciously. Unlike with men, or the one who is in their masculine, we do. For women, it's really opening up to that Shakti energy. Shakti is the feminine energy in Hindu, in
Because it's
Sanskrit.
been so vilified and so repressed over the millennia.
Yeah, also feminine energy is based in estrogen, which is, we call it the slow hormone. We want to awaken that energy. When the Shakti energy is awakened, it moves through us all by itself. It's said, some of you may be familiar with Kundalini, and turbocharged with aroused energy, Then the principle is the same, that we breathe it up, and we can breathe it all the way up into our third eye and beyond.
Yep.
So within, in self-love practice, and then also in beloved practice, where we can connect with the third eye, where we connect with the heart, and so forth. And we thought, taking this beyond. Oh, you wanted to say something?
It's okay, go ahead.
No, darling.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that, stopping the vilification of the sexual is what's going to allow us as humanity to move and make that spiritual quantum leap to seeing ourselves in each other. It was creating life before we had language. There's an intelligence encapsulated in bringing consciousness to the sexual. And when we do, what starts to show up is the kernel of that energy, creativity and pleasure, outside of the bedroom, just in other areas of life that seem completely unrelated to sex. When I can bring consciousness in that euphoric, altered state of awareness, that feeling, that awareness starts to show up as I listen, as I feel sensations in my body, as I listen to cascading effects from thoughts and beliefs, as I move towards what I'd like to create, letting go of what I've accepted as the truth. That's what starts to happen when bringing consciousness to the sexual. And the book that I was given, I can't totally remember because it was asked in the questions, I would suggest you read Super Sex Consciousness by Osho. That's a great one.
Okay, so let's share with you about our gift, which is intended to assist you to take what you heard today, what you tapped into, through this conversation, that we want to give you practices so that at home you can start practicing activating your primal energy, that you can start connecting your primal energy with your heart energy. It's a video class. We call it Introduction to Sexual Meditation. That's the form of practice we call, to cultivate and work with that primal energy and connect with our consciousness. So enjoy the introduction to sexual meditation.
Amazing, you guys. Thank you so much. That was an incredible talk. I loved your demonstrations. I really thought that brought it very, very well to life what you were teaching on. I've put the link in the chat there as well to Elsbeth and Freddy's free gift, and this will also be going out in the replay as well tomorrow. So much that I'd love to speak to you guys about. Not all of it could be shared on camera actually, but there's just so much that I've been experiencing this year with this primal energy, which you quite rightly said it did activate me. The primal really it activated within me. But I think it's such a deep topic, and I was going to ask, and I guess it's maybe your free gift, like, where do people start, who are just starting out on this journey and they're interested in tantra and activating perhaps their primal energy? What would you say?
Yeah, so that video class is really because it is intended as a starting point, like really the basics, both in terms of distinctions of practices. It's a great place to start. Another resource may be our book, Sexual Enlightenment, where we lay it out. So reading a book always helps us to get a better understanding. It doesn't produce the transformation, because transformation is experiential, okay? But it can open up further insights and moving stuff that we may have believed or learned or gotten accustomed to. So sexual meditation on our website is available right on the homepage, tantranova.com, TANTRANOVA.com, Tantranova. So the video class and sexual enlightenment book are really great places to begin.
And I loved I love both of your stories, and thank you, Elsbeth, for sharing also very vulnerably about some of the shame that you experienced as well. I think you said from your father actually, and what he was calling you because you were having sex. And I think so many of us women can relate, you know, to and men, you know, we've all been shamed, haven't we, in different ways, and like we all have healing to go through in our own sexual journey. Yeah, I mean, I can, you know, say that when I went through my spiritual awakening, when I was my big spiritual awakening, because I've been through a couple when I was 36, and I went very much into like the cosmic consciousness. At that point, actually, my sexual energy, it got cut off, and I didn't have it really for a few years. And I was like, where's this gone? I used to be like thinking about it all the time, you know, wanting to have it. What's happened to me? I don't feel like me anymore. And I think that can happen in one's spiritual awakening, right? And it's so nice. It's such a lovely part of embodiment to, you know, enjoy the human pleasures. And also when we're on the spiritual path, it can be this amazing portal, you know, to open us up to these higher dimensions as well. So yeah, I'm so like on this journey with you guys, and it's great timing for us to still. I'd love to talk to you about sacred sex magic, which I've been going quite deep into this year, but maybe this is another summit.
Yes, absolutely. We love it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you. It's so lovely to see you both, and I love that you're together and that you're doing this work together, and I love that we get to hear from both the male and female perspective. I think it's really, really powerful, and I think you two are just a beautiful couple and example. So thank you so much for being here.
Great for having us. Thank you for everyone listening, and let's continue to make it a better world.
Let's do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'll chat with you guys soon. Thank you. And thanks to Elsbeth for everything that you've brought as well. Really appreciate all of your help and support. Yeah. So good, you guys. These speakers, we've had some really, really fantastic talks today. And I can see in the chat, you guys are saying how much, some of you are saying how much you're enjoying this summit, and it's been beautiful talks, beautiful presentations, and that just makes our heart sing. You know, this is why we're doing what we're doing in the world. You know, we want to support the shift. We want to contribute. We want to be in service. We want to transform. So, you know, thank you so much for all of your positive feedback as well in the chat. It really is appreciated.